This video is sponsored by Bityard. With over 400 cryptocurrencies to choose from on their spot exchange, dozens of USDT pairs for futures trading, perpetual coin futures, trade commodities like gold, silver and oil, Forex, and major indices like Nasdaq. You can buy crypto from Bityard with over 50 different fiat currencies, using Visa, MasterCard, Google or Apple Pay. If you like, you can use their copy trade facility, follow other traders who will execute trades on your behalf, or become a copy trader yourself. So if you want a bit of that, click the link in the description. Hello everybody, welcome back. Let's have a quick look at Bitcoin, Dixie, Nasdaq and the total market cap too. So market cap excluding Bitcoin. We'll just follow on from everything that I've been saying this week, which is still exactly the same. You know, I expect this range to break. I would expect it to break to the up, but invalidations for both of this criteria. So if we start closing below 28,000, below these candle body and wick lows, is a problem. And if we start to reclaim this green 50 exponential moving average on the 4-hourly chart, we should at that point have continuation outside of this range and into either this area beginning 32 to potentially 34 and likely to get either rejected on this 200 exponential on the 4-hourly, or if you're super turbo bullish and we do continue further, it's around, well, again, you know, this is a descending trend line, but it comes in currently around the mid to upper 36 area. Again, you know, because we're looking at trend lines and moving averages, you know, I can't really give exact figures. We're looking at rejections on these areas, so that's a horizontal zone, which, you know, again, anywhere in this area could pose rejection. This is a significant area. This is your 200 exponential. And then obviously this is a major area, this is a consolidation trend line. So lots of areas of rejection based mostly on the 4-hourly chart, and we're looking for each side of this to break and give further direction. So the same as what we were saying at the beginning of the week. We're now Thursday, still playing out this range is still exactly the same. So invalidations, like I say, here, and criteria to the upside should begin, well, at this current area right now is about 30,000, but with every 4-hourly closure, it'll get a little lower and a little lower, so the criteria will be less and less each time. Personally, the way it looks, just based on a Bitcoin chart alone, nothing else, just the Bitcoin chart, it does look like it's still got enough momentum to break outside of this range and then maybe have continuation up. Now, one thing I've looked at this morning, which I haven't looked at in a little while, is the Dixie chart. So the Dixie chart, this is Dixie on the daily, looking like we've overreached ever so slightly in this short term and having a pullback down to your center of your Bollinger Band where we got picked up yesterday. A little bit of a bounce. Now we're getting a rejection on the top of this resistance zone. So this at this stage does look a little bit more likely that we're going to receive a bit of downside on the Dixie. And it doesn't have to happen, obviously, but usually if we do initiate a consolidation, we're not looking for massive, huge bearish moves or anything like this, but we are looking for a breakdown at least towards the 50 exponential moving average. So we're talking about just above 100 at the moment, and see where we go from there. Then that might transfer into a little bit of upside across all markets, whether that's Nasdaq, you know, S&P, Dow Jones, and obviously our beloved Bitcoin, and maybe altcoins through association, right? So all of this is very possible. We're going to talk about alts mostly on this, because otherwise I'll just be repeating myself. So at the beginning of the week, I did the short-term time frame thing for Bitcoin, to which we are still in, so that is exactly the same. Then yesterday I did the long-term time frame thing, which is exactly, you know, still exactly the same as where we are right now. So now let's think about the altcoin thing. But before we do that, just a quick look at the Nasdaq. So the Nasdaq actually closed down 5% yesterday. Big rejection on that 10 exponential moving average, similar to how Bitcoin's behaving as well. We got a rejection on the 10 exponential moving average a few days back, and we got another one there yesterday. So pretty much the same thing. The correlation on the charts are exactly the same. There's not much difference between them. They're both behaving in the same way, correlated beyond all recognition. There's just absolute huge correlation at the moment, and again, you know, we all know why this is happening, and again, we talk about it all the time, so I won't bore you to death with it, but we know why it's happening. All markets are doing the same. Every single market is behaving the same way, more or less, give or take. But so it's not a crypto thing, it's not a traditional market thing, it's an economic thing is the main problem. With inflation spiking yesterday for the UK to 9%, things don't look particularly good. So with all that in mind, I still believe that the inflation is likely to reach a peak next month for America, but that, you know, again, you know, that remains to be seen. We'll definitely have to keep our eyes on the prize, and we'll get that figure in about 3 weeks' time. So we've done Bitcoin, we've done Nasdaq, and we've seen Nasdaq this morning in the pre-market still continuing with its downside move. Maybe what it ends up doing is sweeping a little bit of a new low and then getting picked up. As the Dixie does look like it's rejecting, and we do have bullish divergence forming on the Nasdaq on the daily and on the 4-hourly, I believe, from what I checked a minute back. No, not on the 4-hourly. We did, but it's invalidated now. And the weekly, we do have that cancelled out as well, actually, so not even on the weekly. But we are looking at some serious lows being forged in. So we'll just go back to this chart here. So not the pre-market chart, but this one. If we continue down with this march at the moment, we would likely end up at this major area, this horizontal, which is a further 8 or 9% from where we're at right now. I've classed this as a bit of an intermediate zone, but one that could end up having some serious upside. We had a bit of a bouncy around here before we moved up and tested that as support, tested that as support. Now, if you think about what we're doing now, we're seeing the opposite happen. So we've come down to test this support, the one that we saw around here, move up. We had a very significant move up to this trend line, back down again, had a little bit of a bounce here, and now we're breaking down to this one. Bit of an anemic rally, to be honest with you. It didn't really work out, and there's a reason for that, I would say, most likely because that area is relatively insignificant. If you think about it, we only had really one kind of test of support and 2 tests of resistance, so it's breaking down from there right now. So this would lead me to believe if we do continue with the march, we would come down here and we'd get a decent bounce. That would transfer over to crypto. It would also be negative for Dixie, but it also means that we're looking for another, well, reasonably large drop, I suppose, for Nasdaq, and that shouldn't surprise any of us. We were looking on there at stocks on the live stream. We even saw things like Tesla, which do look like they want a serious pullback from this current value. This doesn't have to happen immediately. We can continue to go up for a short period of time, but effectively the direction based on just the TA alone is still down, and investors, like I say, who want to take part in up-only charts like a Nasdaq or like Bitcoin, there will be certain areas of serious interest, this being one of them, but the major one would be this level here, and this is your pre-pandemic high when things were normal. Everything was normal here, and then things just got a little too crazy. The things were normal around these zones, and that would be an area of significance for anyone who's looking to take part in buying up the Nasdaq. I can tell you absolutely myself, if that did happen, I'll be buying the hell out of that one. That would be a serious opportunity to get a position in the Nasdaq. If you're looking to pick up Nasdaq for a long-term position, just to I suppose, just for investment purposes, really, you can't generally go wrong with the Nasdaq. And if you're going to get a 40% correction, I mean, back down to this zone, I mean, absolutely, definitely, I would be very happy to pick it up. And to be honest with you, even some of these absolutely wrecked stocks, these wrecked tech stocks, if you think about them, trading them individually, picking those up as investments, they would be epic as well, because they're already below this zone for a lot of the, and some of them even below this zone. So they would be, well, it depends on the stock obviously, but they would likely move significantly as Nasdaq comes down to this major area. But that's a further 20%. It's a 40% from the top to the bottom. So we're supposed to be talking about crypto, aren't we? So let's get back to it. So we've discussed the areas of significance for Bitcoin. It's mostly going to be around 30,000, 30,500, breaking above there. Correlates with the 10 exponential and also that 50 exponential on the daily. Sorry, on the 4-hourly. So let's just have a think about the total market cap, because for those of us who like to trade alts, I mean, generally speaking, I wouldn't really entertain the idea of any kind of position in an altcoin, unless of course it's long term or very short term. Because if we go to the Bitcoin dominance chart, it's not a favorable environment currently. However, we are approaching what could be considered the first area of major resistance. You could even argue in many ways that this is one too. It's the top of a Bollinger Band. If we think about the Bollinger Band and how that's played on a weekly since the alt season began back over here, where the serious gains were made, then Bollinger Band on the weeklies worked out reasonably well. So we had a little bit of a test of it, broke down from it, rejection one week, rejection another week, and then came all the way down, and then the next time we tested it had a fine rejection as well. Rejections around here as well. Now we are above it, but we're at the top of the Bollinger Band right now, and again, this isn't any place because they expand obviously with volatility, but it is a place to consider maybe the next big push up to be one of interest. And I'll tell you where it would be. Our first level of interest is going to be 47.5% dominance. Now that's not very high, but with the market caps of both crypto and Bitcoin, and altcoins, all combined, the market cap is obviously still a lot higher than it was back in the olden days. And I say by the olden days, I'm talking only a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago. Even the market cap for altcoins right now is still higher now than the total market cap including Bitcoin was throughout 2018, 19, and for the most part of 20. So there's still a sizable amount of market cap involved with altcoins, despite obviously you see a lot of that market cap being just sucked out of the system. So that in itself should in many ways keep the dominance chart to a relatively low portion, but I think over time, and we've said it many times, we've been saying it for almost a year now as we approach these levels, that we're likely to break out of here and move back up to at least 52 and maybe even 57 to 58. So that's the general destination for the Bitcoin dominance chart, where I would imagine the biggest alt season. This is what I'm trying to prime everybody for. We're coming back to square one for altcoins, which is great, which means that we get to play the game all over again. It's almost like we've won the game of Monopoly, now we're going to get to play it again, and we're probably going to win it again. The idea is you accumulate Bitcoin and Bitcoin only while we're down in these levels, and then when we get up to, I suppose, here would be worth a little, worth a tiny bit of a gamble, I suppose, based on a support which is held, a resistance which is broken down. But it'll be short-lived. It'll be short-lived. Maybe a week, 2, 3, maybe at best. But you should have some serious gains if we do get a rejection from there. And again, that is an effectively showing that where the power is. And we've had that in the even when we came down to these levels. Back into a Bitcoin position, into altcoin position, back into Bitcoin position, into a altcoin position, back into a Bitcoin position where we've largely stayed, and we'll be looking for maybe an altcoin position around these levels. So it is only the very first opportunity for what could be potentially seen as an alt season, and we're getting closer and closer to it, but we're not there yet. So I mean, this 50 exponential, I wouldn't say it's got any major significance. You could find a rejection here, but I would be more interested in waiting to go higher, because the bigger gains will be made from higher resistances. And so yeah, feel free to have a little gamble, but don't forget to take your profits, because this chart does look like it wants to reverse. Every aspect of it looks like it wants to continue to go up, and that's good. Like I say, we're playing the game all over again, starting from Bitcoin. Collect 200 Bitcoin as you pass go, and move on, to I don't know, Fleet Street or whatever it is. So let's think about it realistically. There is money to be made in altcoins. You can make some serious fast money doing spot trading on altcoins, and the time is approaching for the first opportunity at that, but it's going to be short-lived. If you think about the total market cap here, excluding Bitcoin but including Ethereum, we've come down and we're kind of hanging around at this level, which is showing us a little bit, and again this is a market cap, so yeah, it's not going to be neat, but it's a market cap. It's showing us a little bit of significance around here. So buybacks took place around here for rallies, resistances took place around here, and again we have had a wick down below. We could go a little bit further down as well. We don't have to measure it from that exact bit, we could measure it from these wicks, which correspond to these lows and these tops as well. So there is definitely, and again you had a wick down to it there, so there is definitely further room for downside on altcoins, which makes the whole thing a little bit riskier. We're not at what I would call a significant area on the chart, considering what we're seeing across the board for the economy. However, opportunity could present itself soon for what could be a short-lived alt season. Okay. But yeah, I'm going to use that as a clickbait title, by the way. So just to let you know, if you've made it to this stage in the video, you've obviously heard me explain it. I said the word alt season. I explained why we might get one. I was also very cautious about it, so I feel like I'm entitled to have some clickbait because I'm talking about an alt season. I'm not calling for a massive alt season. I'm giving you the criteria for an alt season, and it would be a small one at that. But I feel like I've earned the right for the clickbait, so thank you very much. So effectively that's it. So the same analysis throughout that we've made this week all still applies on the short-term time frame, on the long-term time frame, and now we're thinking about what it could mean for altcoins in I guess the short term and the long term. So I'm trying to make more comprehensive videos, something rather than repeat myself every day, because I guess crypto for the most part is a slow beast, really simmering down at these low levels, with threatening very realistic possibilities of going down lower over a period of months. But I think the upside at this current moment is more likely, as I've said, provided we break successfully out of that 4-hourly range, talking about 30,400, which also corresponds to the 10 exponential on the daily. Things will probably move up and out of the range and probably have a bit of a relief rally before another major rejection, which at that point realistically could take us down to about the mid to low 20s, right? And at that stage I would be very keen to pick it up for all the reasons that I pointed out yesterday. I think that would be a very significant area, potentially a bottoming in area. And also that kind of move from, let's just say if we manage to make it all the way up to the top of this trend line, I'll just take this to a weekly so we can see it a lot easier. Let's just say we moved up between this week and next week to the top of this trend line. We got rejected around 35 and it was a fine rejection. We'll be looking for a downwards move of between 28 to the 200 exponential to a maximum of about 37 to the 200 simple, which is usually where we get picked up around for Bitcoin. Generally speaking, whether it's a bull market or a bear market, it's a very significant area. And I'll just show you this as well before I go. Bitcoin to USDT to USD on Bitstamp. So we've got our long-term chart here. We'll keep it off the log scale, but we can put it on the log scale if you like. No, we won't do that because it makes it a mess. So we have a look historically about how we've managed to spot bottoms. This was a big bear market that went on for a prolonged period of time. Where did we reaccumulate? The 200 simple moving average on a weekly. Came all the way up here, came crashing back down. Where did we just manage to hold above? The 200 simple moving average on the weekly. Again, if we come back down to the previous bear market, big crash back down. Where did we accumulate? More or less at this 200 simple moving average. And again, if that simple moving average is the be all and end all of all moving averages that count for something, that brings us currently to around 22,000. And again, that doesn't have to happen there. And if it did, we'd probably find a little bounce there to start with. And if it's anything like the last 8 years, we would reaccumulate around there. So just to get it straight, although I am, predicting, for want of a better word, I'm forecasting some upside, I'm also forecasting a major rejection around here, given the overall economy. This isn't particularly to do with Bitcoin, although Bitcoin's chart has very, very clear and cut areas at the moment. If we do entertain the idea of things coming further down, and stocks, like I say, on that we've been looking at on the live streams, look like they want to come down, the Nasdaq is still not an extremely comfortable area for big buys and reinvestment, then we should entertain the idea of Bitcoin coming down, which could be another 37% from where it gets rejected from, and at best we'll be looking at about 35 basically on this descending trend line. $35,000 to all the way down to around 22, and again, buying, or the day that we come down there, you can do that if you want, but I would imagine that we would probably hang around there like we have done in the past, reaccumulate properly at those levels. You might even get a little bit of a scare dump, but generally speaking, that would be the ultimate area to go hard and heavy. And all those people that I know that have been coming up to me, since Bitcoin and crypto have been going crazy, and I said to them realistically, I said, look, to be honest, you should have bought when I was buying, and I kind of told you I was buying back in 2019. Buying, in 2020, you're looking to get back as much as you're looking to lose. The risk to reward is 50-50. But for those people, I'll be making phone calls to them, and I'll say, look, remember I told you to hold off. Now I'm asking you to get back in, and I can tell you what they're going to say. They're going to look at this chart and they're going to think about the overall picture and the economy, and they're going to think, oh no, not for me, no way, absolutely not, no way. Have you seen that? It's gone down so much. Oh god, I'm not doing that. And do you know what will happen? I know exactly what will happen. It's the same as always happens. They will contact me when we reach probably back at our all-time high or even higher. So this Bitcoin stuff, this crypto stuff that you're doing, how do I get back in? Wrecked City, my friends. I'll see you in Wrecked City. That's my projection for the long term, for altcoins on the short term, Dixie as well short term. So there you go. So I've earned the right for the clickbait. Hope you all have a nice day and take it easy.